So in the previous class, we were discussing audit evidence. I will say in nutshell, whenever we are saying that ki I have done this, there must be some evidence I can give. Suppose Neeraj, you will say that ki sir, I have studied this chapter 4 times in the last 7 days. Obviously, you will be able to provide me some evidences that actually you have studied. Maybe you have made some notes, you will be giving me. Maybe you will say that, sir, I have done the recordings. That means you will be giving, I will be able to see on the software that you have done the recording. You can give a screenshot that you did the recordings. Maybe when I'm asking you some questions, you are able to reply. That means the evidences are there. Audit is not law, I will say, because everything in audit is not law. But when the auditor is giving his opinion, he cannot give opinion without generating evidences. Evidences relating to what? Relating to our responsibility. I mean to say that if I am the auditor of company X Limited, that means I am certifying the financials of the company, the PL account, balance sheet, cash flow, notes to accounts. I am giving my auditor report and then I am signing. When I'm saying that, the first language, whether it's India, US, UK, anywhere, the first language is said by the auditor, the financials of the company provides true and fair view of the affairs of the organization. True and fair view means whatever is presented as a profit, loss, assets, liability, they are true, they are correct, and they are fairly presented. They are not presented in such a way that they will mislead. They are presented in a proper way. I am certifying that. To certify this, I need to check, I need to go through with the details which are provided by the organization. Those details are in vouchers, bank statement, cash flow, invoices, employee detail, software, PL balance sheet prepared by the company. So many things are there. All those things I need to check. The checking will be sample checking. The checking cannot be 100%. Even though there is a very small organization and they have only very small number of transactions, then also generally the auditor will not check 100%. It's not that the law says that the auditor should not be doing 100% checking, not that. But the auditor means that sample checking. What will be the number of sample, which sample you take, how you do the testing, that is upon you. But when you check, then you will started making evidences. If you are checking some records, you will make a note. If you are taking copy of something, you will take a note. If you are discussing from the management, you are making a note. If you are asking questionnaire to somebody, you are making a note. That evidences will say that you have done your audit properly. Those evidences, if any problem, that suppose you have given a particular opinion and later on it is realized that your opinion is wrong. When the evidences are there, you can prove that you were truly 100% proper, appropriate in your proceedings. The problem arises not because you have not been given the provided information, because sometimes the management mislead information. Sometimes the staff of the management are not saying us proper things. And it was not possible at our level to know those things. When we have performed the audit procedures properly, we have evidences, we can prove, and we will be able to safeguard ourselves. The reason is that in case of auditing, the work is done by the company. The records are prepared by the company, but you are certifying the records, and that too on sample basis. How can you say that you have done your work 100% efficiently when you have the audit evidence? So auditor, whenever they do audit, they will be generating evidences. The evidences are some paper, calculations, some xerox of some documents, confirmation from suppliers, customers, the invoices copy, whatever evidences you will gather, those evidences will be there in the audit file. And those audit file is kept by the auditor at least for 6 to 7 years. Okay, suppose I have completed an audit for a client for 2019-20. There is my audit file. That audit file I will be having for next 6 years at least. I have done audit for many banks, concurrent audit, and earlier when you can say I'm talking about 2001 too. At that time I was doing auditing also. I did the audit of state bank, some branches. I don't remember exactly. I think that the files are still there. When I did the audit, I signed the branch financials that they provide true and fair view. There should be detail what I did, because otherwise anybody can question me. So those evidences are basically in the audit file. That audit file are two types. One is permanent audit file, one is current audit file. Permanent audit file, articles of association, management, then audit procedures generally, that is permanent audit file, which I use normally in many types of audit. And current audit file relating to that organization for that year, for that period. So two types of audit files are there that contains all the evidences, and that evidences can be used by the auditor in future if somebody will raise question on the auditor that you have not done the audit properly. For that reason, the evidences are required. And to give your opinion about the financials, if you don't gather the evidence, you can't do the audit. That means you cannot give your opinion. We always say that since the first class, we are always saying that the auditor give assurance. Assurance means there is a reasonable assurance and there is a normal assurance. Normal assurance is related to normal thing. Reasonable assurance, when you are saying the financials of the company provides true and fair view, you are not 100% sure, but you are reasonably sure that you have done the things, evidences are there, recording checked, everything done. So you can see that whatever you are saying, whatever you are certifying, you are reasonably assured that this is done. Reasonable assurance the auditor is giving. For getting a reasonable assurance, the auditor need to check the records, need to maintain the evidences. Nowadays, even the smallest organization have the books of accounts are in online, in a software. In slightly bigger organization, it is in SAP system, ERP system. In a smaller organizations, I will say Tally or any accounting package they are using. So if you say journal, ledger, trial balance, PL, balance sheet, some types of annexures, schedules, statement, Excel sheets, all are there in the software program. Whether it's a customized software developed by the organization or it's a software which is used by many. That means the documents are checked on online computer. That means it is not essential that you need to go into the organization for checking those records which are online. You can do audit by sitting in your home. And COVID has learned that, COVID has made this more important because you cannot go every time to the client's office. But if we talk about, say, purchase invoices, sales invoices, goods received note, then you can say goods delivered note, indent, order, then we can say that the payment received, everything, there are other in records also. In every organization, those are not in the computer. They are still in the physical format. Everybody is understanding invoice BA whenever I am purchasing. I am not asking any physical copy. I am asking that you mail the invoice. We take the download and then we save in a folder that these are the invoices folder for June, for May. So we are the smallest organization, I can say, not having physical thing very less. For 1 year, we are having one single file which includes all the documents. Everything is there in the computer. That means the person who is doing the auditing, he is not required to come in my office for the last 3 months. Recently, just 7 days back only, I was, you can say, not able to maintain the records properly. I have given him the invoices, sales, purchase, bank statement, then my tally data, everything I have given him through mail around 7 days back only, and he need to report me by today, by Sunday, so that we can pay GST and all that, whatever dues are there. But he is not required to come. Obviously, he will have some doubts, some clarification somewhere. So he will be asking with me. I will be replying him. Then only the records are being ready. Whatever he is doing sitting in home. He is not coming at my place. So nowadays, computer literacy is very essential. that if you are doing auditing in a smallest organization, medium scale, large scale, the evidences will be gathered online. The evidences will be gathered not on a physical document every time. For that time, now the audit file are converted into an, what do you say, an audit file in the computer, permanent file, and what do you say, the current file. The physical file are very, 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 very less, and going forward, I think they will vanish. The way we are studying, we are giving exams, same thing is there in the practical life. You are working from your home for last 2 3 months, so all the things which you are maintaining, they are in your computer. And why to take printout? There is no requirement of printout. Maybe for special money important document, you can save at two places, that if this machine goes out of order, I can retrieve. Or maybe they are saved in the cloud, so in that case there is no separate storage required, you will be able to retrieve it. We are saying that nowadays the physical files are not there, the records are physically not there, they are on the computer system. For that, there is a term used, what do you say, audit assisting computer assisted audit techniques. Computer assisted audit techniques, या computer audit technique, which is said that ki everything you will be doing in auditing on computer online. Now, we say that in Tally, if I pass the journal entry, journal will be posted to ledger automatically, trial balance will be ready automatically, balance sheet will be ready automatically. That means if your journal is correct, then Tally, the very general software, everything is done in the Tally automatically. You don't have to prepare ledger, trial balance, PL balance sheet, you don't have to. But then, how you will check? Then to what you will check? If there is any transaction journal entry we are passing, we need to classify that item, whether it's a current asset, whether it's a fixed asset, whether it's an expenditure, whether it's a liability, the basic accounting norm. So you need to check with the some of the online invoices that whether the classification of the account is correct. Then maybe the Tally will be doing it automatically, but you need to check that whether in the financial statement it is showing correctly, it is showing on the proper head. You know that practically, even though Tally is there, but whenever the chartered accountants in India are doing the auditing, they prepare the PL account balance sheet in Excel sheet, because Tally is doing the classification in his own way. But many times the chartered accountant, or I will say CPA, realize that that classification which is done by the accounting software is not correct. The classification should be rearranged. The computation of taxes and everything, the chartered accountant or CPA will do in Excel sheet. That means by getting the evidences from the software, they prepare their own Excel. Computer assisted audit techniques, there are in the Excel sheet. Client is giving you the detail of the assets, their original cost, purchase, sale, then closing value, then accumulated depreciation, asset schedule. We will recalculate that. That maybe the software has done the calculation, but the calculations are correct or not. Because many times it may happen that by mistake the calculation by the software, because of the bug in the program, it is not doing correct calculation. So there are recalculations, and whatever recalculation you will do, that becomes audit evidence that you have done the calculation. You can say that computer is the thing, or computer assisted audit techniques, CAAT, computer assisted audit techniques is the need of the hour. Whatever evidences we will be gathering on the basis of computer. As we discussed in the previous class, the evidences, technically they are saying they are divided into two parts. They should be sufficient. Quantity wise, you need to raise proper level of evidences, and they should be accurate. They should be quality wise correct. Now there is no formula or there is no law. This much quantity can be treated as sufficient evidence. Or if you do this, then this can be treated as quality wise correct. That you need to analyze. We can say that the quantity depends upon volume of transactions, resources available. Volume of transactions depends upon whether there are high volume transactions or large, less. That you need to take your call. As far as quality, quality will be better if you are analyzing evidences on your own, not given by anybody else. The quality will be better if you are relying on original documents, not on the copy documents. The quality will be better when you are, you can say, relying on the evidences which you have absorbed, on your personal observations. The quality of the evidences will be better when you get a written confirmation from the management. So the quality will be better when you follow certain procedures. Then those evidences will be helpful to help you to say that the financial statements of the company provide true and fair view, that they are free from material misstatements or anything. Then only you can say. And if you have problem in doing this money evidences gathering, you find that there are problems, you will qualify your audit report, you will take safeguard for yourself. So sufficient audit evidence, adequate audit evidence, and accurate audit evidence, appropriate audit evidence are required. Those evidences are relating to all the assertions which are followed by the company. As assertions, as I said, whatever the activities conducted by the company for doing their business operations, in that you will be doing your checking. In those assertions, you will be doing substantive testing, or you will be doing test of control. Test of control means what? For purchase, whenever there is a new order comes, the company has a system. They analyze the credit worthiness of the customer, that whether the customer will pay in time or not. They are analyzing the financials. They are analyzing from whom the customer is already dealing, how long the customer is in the business. They are asking the bank statement of the customer. They are analyzing the things. There is a credit worthiness system in the company. Test of control means you are analyzing the control process in the company for analyzing the credit worthiness of the customer is good, is proper, is adequate. You are analyzing the control, you are satisfied, the test of control. Maybe you will be doing less testing. The substantive testing will be less because you are already satisfied with the control system. But not that when you are satisfied, you don't check, you check less. But if you find that the control is not adequate, not proper, not it is improper, you will be going for more and more samples, more and more checking, more substantive procedures. Substantive procedures means what? You will be analyzing financials, non-financial data of the company. You can see ratios. For financial data ratios, for non-financial data ratios. And you will correlate the financial and non-financial. Suppose I will say that I am looking at the company's PL account. The sales of the company for the last 2-3 years are growing by 20-30%. Very good growth. Why the sales will grow? Obviously, there must be more quantity of sale and the selling price. But why the more quantity is being sold? That means the customers are satisfied. Now you are taking a non-financial control. The number of complaints last year. This year, the number of complaints are double than last year. It will come crack money, click in your brain. The sales are going up by 20-30%. The complaints are double. Why? When the complaints are increasing, how the sales can increase? How it can happen? That means there is a chances of misstatement. There may be a bogus invoices. So by analyzing past data, current data, monthly data, quarterly data, you will be able to come to a conclusion that yahan par ghapla hai. There may be some issues, which we say as analytical procedures. Analytical procedure means by looking at the financials, by looking at the non-financial data, you will calculate some ratios, some analysis you will done, and you will come to know that this area you need to go for detailed checking, substantive procedures. While substantive procedures, you check the records, classification, vouchers, then posting, then ledgers, then confirmation, observations, everything you will analyze. You will go on maintaining the evidences, collecting the evidences that you have done that. And then after doing the substantive procedures, test of control, relating to assertions, gathering the evidences, you will be able to give your opinion. You will be able to give your opinion relating to financials of the company, whether they provide true and fair view or not. I have written here, first of all, evidences. Then after the evidences, what is test of control? What is substantive procedures? Then under substantive procedures, analytical procedures, the analytical procedure system. Then whatever we do, evidences which we gather, the evidences need to be gathered through the help of computer assisted audit techniques through the CAT system. If I am gathering the evidences and all that, if I am satisfied with the test of control, I will be going for less detailed checking, less substantive procedures. But if I am not satisfied with the test of control, I will be going into more detailed checking. So some audit risk, inherent risk, and then control risk. What type of risk you are ready to take? This is written here in the first part. You can see first chapter as audit evidence. But then I have added in the notes some examples on substantive procedures, some examples on analytical procedures, some examples on test of control, some examples of any organization relating to sales, purchases, payroll, loan, investments, fixed assets. Some examples are given. Those examples will help you. Sometimes technically we are not able to interpret. So those examples will help you to get into that feeling. But as per my knowledge, this entire chapter evidences is a very straight cut. When you do the questions, you need to be analyzing the language. Obviously, out of say 200 questions, you will be finding that some of the questions are very technical. Even though you have practical sense, but you are not able to do that because technical meaning is slightly different. You need to take a copy paste. But then other questions you will be able to handle. So I'm not reading everything, just going through one by one slightly. Sufficient appropriate audit evidence and reliable audit evidence. Sufficient appropriate audit evidence. Sufficient means quantity, appropriate means quality. While generalizations are difficult, subject to exceptions, audit evidence is ordinarily more reliable when it is obtained from knowledgeable independent sources outside the organization. You can see what you are getting confirmation from the customers that actually this money due from them by the company, or you are getting confirmation from the suppliers that actually this money is payable by the company to them. So you are getting an independent confirmation generalized internally through a system of effective control rather than ineffective. The internal control in the company is very effective relating to all the system which is followed in the company, obtained directly by the auditor rather than indirectly or by references. That means observation of application of control is more reliable than an inquiry to the client concerning the control. When I did bank audit around, you can say 15, 17 years back, then we need to say about the company's system also. There were so many questionnaire that is given by the, you can say, bank audit report guidelines that need to be answered. So I'm sitting with the management branch manager. He's saying yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, putting. But actually that should not be done like that. I need to check that why he's saying yes. I need to consult with the IT persons in the branch so that I can understand. We can say that if the observations are generated by the auditor on its own, they are more reliable. If it is generated through a third party, through intermediary, they are not reliable so much. Documentary in form, paper, electronic, others, mainly nowadays electronic only, provided by original documents, not with the photocopy. As I was saying in the last class, that in case of Satyam debacle in India, the auditor relied on the Xerox copy of the statement relating to bank balance. And that too, the bank balance statement was not of 31st March. The auditor has been given the bank statement balance of 29th March. Why the auditor relied on 29th March statement? Why the 31st March was not provided? That was the problem. From that time, the Indian company law made the rule that you need to show in your financial cash and bank balance separately. Normally, we write in the balance sheet cash and bank combined. We are not saying the breakup of cash and bank. But then from that time, the cash and bank balance breakup need to be given. Nature, timing and extent of audit, you can say that how much evidences you will gather depends. understanding of the design of internal control used to assess level of control risk. When you are analyzing the control system in the company, whether you are satisfied with the system applied or not. When you are not satisfied, you have high risk. That means the control is not appropriate. So you need to go with more detailed checking, more evidences. But when you analyze the internal control, that is very good, very effective. Assess the level of control risk along with the inherent risk used in audit risk model to determine level of detection risk. I can say audit risk is analyzing the organization, their business nature. If already the business of the organization is very risky, there is already the inherent risk is there. You can say that inherent risk I will consider in a business. Suppose I will say banking. In banking, inherent risk is very high relating to cash and bank balance, which we were discussing in the previous class also. In every branch, there are so many cash. The auditor of the, say, State Bank of India, there are around 20,000 branches. Every branch cash you are certifying. So the inherent risk relating to cash is very high because they have dealing of cash every moment, every second. So there are cases where inherent risk is high. Audit risk depends upon nature, level of the organization, business, and then you will take call relating to control risk. You can say that the control which is exercised in the organization for those audit risk and control risk. On the basis of that, you will take your call how much checking you will be doing. Assess the level of control risk along with the inherent risk and audit risk model to determine level of detection risk that will provide acceptable level of audit risk. Resulting acceptable level of detection risk may be high, less substantive procedures. Resulting acceptable level of detection risk may be low, more substantive procedures. They have given a table. Scope of substantive procedures. Scope of substantive procedures, lower level of detection risk higher. Higher detection risk lower. They are saying that when you will be going into checking, then at the time of checking you found that there can be huge problems. You will not be able to find the details just by doing a small checking. Maybe there is a problem with the inherent or there is a problem with the control system. So the risk relating to detection risk is lower detection risk. Lower detection risk means when you do a small number of checking, you will not be able to identify. So for getting confirmation in your mind, you are doing very detailed checking. The scope of substantive procedures is higher. You will be going into detailed testing, checking. But when you go for, if you think that the higher detection risk, whenever you do small checking, you will be able to identify things very fast. Then you don't have to go for a detailed substantive checking. If the detection risk is lower, you need to go for more detailed verification, evidences checking. When the detection risk is high, that means the detection will give you all the problems, so you don't have to go into detail of substantive testing. Nature, more reliable audit evidences, because already detection risk is lower and you are going into detailed substantive testing. So you need to have more reliable evidences, which is direct, which is directly from you, which is original document on your personal observation. But if the detection risk is high, that means why the detection you come to know most of the things, then substantive procedures you will not be following very much. Then in that case, the evidences you will gathered will be less. Timing, in case of lower detection risk, timing will be between the audit, after the audit. But in case of high detection risk, that is you are doing less substantive testing, significant portion of audit evidence prior to year end only. That is after the end of the year we do less checking. Extent, obviously in case of scope of substantive procedure higher, lower detection risk, large number of transactions we need to check, because just by detection means detection risk when you go for small auditing. Small auditing means organization is big. You are asking some of the question, you found that whatever problems are there you will come to know very fast. That means higher detection risk. Detection will be done. So detailed checking is not required. But if the detection cannot be done just by asking questions and all that, you need to go into more and more substantive testing. Maybe there is a question on this which will be confusing because it's a technical area. Timing of audit procedures. The audit procedures related to sales, purchase, bank, cash, payroll, whatever the company is doing, relating to that, the audit procedure, which is generally kept in the permanent audit file. Substantive testing performed increase the risk that the misstatement existing in the balance sheet date will not be detected. Audit procedures may be performed at interim dates, not only after the year end. Substantive testing performed before the balance sheet date increase the risk that the misstatement existed that the balance sheet date will not be detected. Because when you are doing the auditing, because normally if you are the statutory auditor, you will be going in the organization every quarter, every 6 months, or maybe every month, depending upon volume. But maybe monthly basis, quarterly basis, they are correct. But at the end of the year, they are doing all the window dressing, referred to an inherent incremental risk. Incremental audit risk increases as time between the test and year end is greater. Incremental audit risk increases. Suppose you are doing the audit for March 2020 and you have done the testing, say, June 2020. Then to balance 9 months, 10 months, you have not checked anything. The incremental risk will be very high. Before performing substantive test on an interim date, the auditors would consider effectiveness of internal control, change business conditions, whether year-end balances of accounts being tested are reasonably predictable. Tests should be performed at year-end to cover the remaining period. You can see that I'm going for audit in a company, say at the end of 6 months. Even though my report will be for entire year at the end of 6 months. I have done some checking, some verification. Now again at the end of the year I am going. Now on the basis of my prior visit, I will be able to analyze key sales should be this, this item should be this, these are the employee, this should be the payment of salary, these are the things. Then I found that key at the end of the year they are in the line. Maybe I will go further beyond March also, in April, May also, that actually they are falling in place or not. I will reduce my substantive test. But otherwise, if I found that they are not correlating with what I did earlier, now the figures are totally different, then I will go more detailed checking. So that depends upon what type of system the company follow, whether their internal control is strong or not, whether they are replying to your queries, whether they are communicating properly, whether management is taking care to discuss with you. That depends. Ki substantive test, how much level we will be doing, that depends upon question. Basic types of audit procedures. One is risk assessment. Risk assessment analyzing the entity, their business, their volume, that is risk. Test of control for each transaction, what control system the company follow, analyzing whether the control is adequate, proper or not. And then based on risk, based on test of control, substantive procedures will be decided. Substantive procedures, balances checking, disclosures, then you can say analytical procedures, all these are substantive tests. The test of control and substantive procedures are referred to as further audit procedures. Types of substantive test. Substantive test may be test of details or analytical procedures. Test of details, vouching, transactions, you can say that purchase order, sales order, then goods received note, payment received note, delivery note, all the test of details, confirmation, comparisons, observations. Test of will be information either agree with or does not agree with the information presented or disclosed in the financial statement. When you go into detail, you may find that the details are as per the balance sheet figure. But sometimes you found that they are not as per the balance sheet figure. Why? Some information cannot be directly coordinated or contradicted. Allowance or doubtful debts. Now, if company is making allowance for doubtful debts, a particular figure, you cannot have a voucher for allowance for doubtful debts. You can have the past data, that in the past years, whatever is the sale, what was the bad debt, so what the company is estimating, how they are analyzing, why they are making this provision. You need to understand the management attitude relating to allowance, estimation, projections, provisions. You can't have a document. You can't have a details. That is a system. That is a process. So you need to go into detail of that process. Analytical procedures provide evidence on the reasonableness, comparing information in the financial statement. Procedures may involve financial, non-financial data. For something, the details are there: purchase, sale, payment to employees, and all that. But for something, details are not there. You need to understand the judgment of the management. The substantive procedures involve analytical procedures, comparing amounts recorded in the financial statement with ratios of prior years with the budgets, relationship with the elements, you can say sale and cost of sale of selling expenditure, relationship of balance sheet and PL items, industry averages. You will be gathering the industry data, analyze that the company's data are falling in that aspect or not. Again, analytical procedures relating to risk, relating to substantive procedures, nature and audit. Analytical procedures can be used in risk, that is, before accepting the audit, you are analyzing the risk of the organization. Auditors understanding of the business of the client, understanding of the transactions and events, understanding the areas in which the organization engaged, may help the auditor to understand money in advance, come to know unusual transactions, ratios and trends. Analytical procedures assist auditor in planning the nature and timing of audit, that is, depending upon the level of assurance needed, because sometimes you are giving certificate like inventory certificate, cash and bank balance certificate, that is more assurance is required. Sometimes generally you are giving general assurance. So analytical procedures alone may be sufficient, may be used in conjunction. Sometimes in a very high assurance area, the analytical procedures is not enough. You need to go into more detail. Sometimes when you are giving general assurance, then the analytical procedures will help you. When applying analytical procedures, evaluate nature of assertions to determine analytical procedures are appropriate. Again, assertions means whatever the activities, whatever the documents and all that maintained by the company. Evaluate whether plausible relationship exists. Determine information is available. Determine if expectation is sufficient. Whether information is expected to precisely match anticipated. Whether information is not expected to precisely match. Investigate and evaluate differences. That is on the basis of your analytical procedures, financial, non-financial. You find that the financial data are saying something, but the non-financial are saying something. As I said that the sale is increasing, but the complaints are increasing. They are not matching with each other. There may be some problem. Used to evaluate conclusion drawn. Reading financials, considering adequacy of evidence, considering unusual, unexpected transactions. Now they have said analytical procedure means ratios. Liquidity ratio, current ratio, quick ratio, whether the current assets are sufficient to pay the current liabilities. In current assets, if you exclude inventory or non-quick assets, then in that case, whether they are sufficient to pay the liabilities. Activity ratio, as compared to inventory, what is our sales volume? As compared to receivables, what is our sales volume? As compared to assets, what is our sales volume? That is, whether the assets of the company are properly utilized. What is the changes in the net profit margin, gross profit margin, operating profit margin? What is the coverage of the interest coverage? What is the proportion of debt equity ratio? There is no limit for the ratios. It can be endless. All these analytical procedures, evidences you will be gathering through computer assisted audit techniques. The computer assisted audit techniques written as audit data analytics, because now the audit is done through computer only. CAAT or ADA, audit data analytics. Techniques used by analyze large data files. It helps in discovering pattern, used to extract useful information, includes analysis modeling. Nowadays, for auditing purpose also, auditors are using their own software. Like suppose if there is an income tax, you can say checking. Like we have the income tax checking by the department around 6 months back. So suppose they are coming. Whatever I have deleted and everything, they have all the software which they will come to know. If this computer is purchased 2 years back and I have deleted many files, they will come to know everything. In your WhatsApp, even though I have deleted the WhatsApp, they will come to know everything. And they take entire copy, whatever I have done in my systems, in my hard disk, everywhere. And then they will distribute in their department to different persons. They will go into thorough checking. They will rate the questionnaire, and then I need to reply later. So like the income tax department or any regulatory authority has the software, similarly the auditors are using many types of software which will help them in audit data analytics. And at the same time, I can say that with experience also, auditor able to analyze the data on the basis of computer. Risk assessment, test of control for substantive procedures. For all the things, computer is used. The steps are plan the when I am going for audit in a company and I know that this is the system the company is using, maybe a personal ERP or maybe they are using Tally or whatever, then I need to make my plan that what are the things I will be checking in different files and system. Assess and prepare the data. When I checking, I will make some evidences. I will make my own files. Consider relevance that when I made the files, what they figure, what those files are saying, what I can infer. Then I will perform further checking, recalculation, reclassification, evaluate results that whether they are giving. All these things are done. You can say that in bigger organization, nowadays there are software, line chart, bar chart. Those things will help you to analyze the data on the computer very fast, like it is used by management. Then you can see that substantive testing involve accounting estimates. The accounting estimates means estimates relating to provisions, estimates relating to depreciation, estimates relating to fair value of assets, estimates relating to what I should say legal cases, penalty, fines, anything, because all are estimates only. Auditor responsible for reasonableness of estimates and in determining the amounts of elements. When evaluating reasonableness, the auditor concentrates on assumptions, significance of the estimates, sensitivity of variations, and appraisal deviation, subjectivity, and is susceptible. The auditors would understand how management develops estimates, reviewing and testing the process, developing an independent expectation, review subsequent events many times. Suppose the company is estimating relating to a court case this much amount as provision. Now you are not the lawyer, maybe you will hire a lawyer for doing the audit and you will be analyzing the data which is given by the management to analyze whether the estimate is correct or not. You can see that help of third party, which we discussed in the second part. The auditor must gain an understanding of how management develops its fair value measurement and disclosure, the extent of personnel involved, the significant assumptions, the relevant market information, the extent to which management use, the management confirmation given to you, procedures for estimating fair values, market value first thing, otherwise discounted cash flow or other related data, because that is the only way by which fair value can be estimated. Risk associated with the use of estimation, how they are going to affect the financials, the chances of misstatement. So you will be going into detail. The auditor must obtain written representation. Very important. In any audit, we need to get written representation from the management before giving our signing report. The written representation should be related to information and data were available to auditor during examination. So written representation is before starting the audit also, at the end of the audit also. Written representation relating to responsibility of financial statement preparation is of the management, not yours. Errors, fraud or material litigation that are known to the management, that is communicated to you. Subsequent events that may affect carrying values of any assets or liability, that is known to management, that is communicated to you. Plans of the company that may affect carrying values of assets, maybe going concern no longer valid, maybe they are going to do new business, that is going to affect the carrying value, that will be communicated to you. Oral information provided to the auditor was accurate and complete. Whatever management is saying orally, you will write that and you will take a confirmation from the management is saying this. Non-compliance with laws and regulation which is already known to the management communicated to you. Disclosures of major transactions, events or circumstances which is already known to management is given to you. A written representation in conducting an audit is very essential because you are a watchdog, you are not a bloodhound. So for that reason, you have to take that the management will be taking responsibility for the things which is their responsibility, because nobody can transfer its responsibility to any other person. We can delegate the work, but we cannot transfer our responsibility. Written representation are addressed to auditor, dated as date of the audit report, say March 31st, generally signed by the chief executive officer and CFO. CEO and CFO will sign. In SOX, as per US GAAP, it is compulsory. When management will not supply a written representation letter, maybe you are analyzing when the management is not giving written representation letter, you will think that you need to go more detailed checking. Maybe you will not accept the audit also. Auditor preclude from issuing the unqualified opinion. He will give unqualified opinion only. May affect auditor's attitude towards the management, towards the organization. Relating to litigation claims and assessment. Any company may have litigation claims with the customer, with the supplier, with the income tax department, with the sales tax, with anybody. Those litigation claims and all that, there will be detail provided by the management. They are making provisions. They are writing in the outside the balance sheet as contingency. They are not doing anything. They are saying you, they are giving you the lawyer's report which is hired by the company. You may connect with the lawyer. You can consult with the lawyer to know. If you are not satisfied with the lawyer opinion or the management attitude, you may hire your own lawyer as an auditor. You will connect with them. What are the communication between the authority and the company? Between your client, what are the documents shared and all that, you will come to know that whatever estimations or whatever things relating to legal litigation claims and assessment are there, you come to know that it is not affecting going concern. It is properly written, properly valued, properly recorded. That is treated as litigation claims and assessment. Management is responsible for identifying, evaluating, accounting for litigation claims. That's job of the management. Management asserts that all litigation claims and assessments have been appropriately considered and are properly reflected. You will check that, but that is the job of the management. The auditor obtain evidence the existence of conditions at the balance sheet date, the period in which the course arises, the probability of unfavorable event, the amount of range. You can say indirectly, you can correlate with provisions and contingencies, those points which we studied in FAR. The auditor's procedure will include inquire of management policies and procedures, obtain from the management a description, examine documents, then obtain letter from the client's attorney, that is lawyer. Client sends letter to attorney requesting corroboration of information supplied by the management. The letter includes identification of company, list prepared by the management, describing, evaluating, unassessed, request by the lawyer furnishing information, request that the lawyer comment on views different, statement that the lawyer will advise and consult with the client regarding disclosure of unassessed, request that the lawyer identify nature and reasons for limitations. The lawyer will respond with the description of pending litigations, evaluation of probability of unfavorable, and omissions if any of the pending threatened. I will say that you fully correlate with the FAR, provisions, contingent liabilities and contingent assets. Lawyer's refusal to respond. When you are connecting with the lawyer of the company relating to litigation, relating to important area, he is not responding. Then in that case, your scope of limitations, that means you cannot, rely on the information given by the management. Maybe you will go into detail checking and maybe you will be giving unqualified opinion. Related party. Related party means that any transaction with relative is allowed. I can purchase, I can teach to my relative, I can take loan from my relative, I can give advances to my relative, anything. But whenever the transactions are done with relative, a question comes that maybe it is not at fair value. Maybe it is not done at arm's length. Maybe it is not recorded properly. The questions comes. So the auditor responsibility relating to transaction with related party always increases. The auditor procedure should be performed by identifying, evaluating the disclosure of related party. In performing the audit, transactions may come to auditor's attention, indicating the existence of borrowing or lending, sale or purchase, exchange of similar property without any cash, loans with no scheduled items. Procedures the auditor will apply. Examine minutes of the board meetings, because generally any transaction with relatives need to be certified by all the board members. Examine transaction with major customers. Maybe they are not disclosed as relative, but they are major customers, major suppliers, major lenders. Examine large or unusual non-recurring transactions. Examine confirmation of loan receivable. If the related party transactions are identified, auditors would obtain understanding of business purpose of the transaction, why the transaction occurred, invoices, agendas, contracts, you can say that is assertion checking. Determine whether the directors have approved the transaction, examine whether the related party relationship transactions have been disclosed in the notes to accounts. This is the last thing you can say, subsequent events. We are doing audit for March 2020, but maybe doing audit in June 2020. They are saying that the inventory on March 2020 is this much. They are saying that the debtors on March 2020 is this much. They are saying that the assets on March 2020 is this much. They are saying that the litigations provisions on March 2020 this much. But all these things must have been settled in April and May. We can go with the subsequent events. Subsequent events are those events which occur after the balance sheet date and the date when the audit report is given. So suppose I am giving audit report on 30th June, but the audit report I am giving for 31st March. So April, May, June, 3 months is subsequent events. That is very helpful to analyze anything problem in the organization or misstatement chances. Subsequent events may relate to condition existent at the balance sheet date. Examples may include a settlement of litigation. Effect of these events require adjustments. There are adjusting events. The company is making a provision on 31st March, but that is settled in April at a particular figure. You need to make a provision of that amount only. Subsequent events may relate to condition not existed. Examples may include sale of securities. Effect of these events do not require adjustment, but require some disclosures. You know that we discussed recently only in FAR the subsequent events. Procedures after the balance sheet date may include comparison between subsequent interim finance. The company is preparing interim report for June quarter. So you can compare that with the March year. Making inquiries, investigating chances, reading minutes, and making inquiries of legal counsel concerning litigation claims. Subsequent discovery of facts. After issuing report, auditor may come to know that there are something which you have given the report on 30th June. Now in July something coming which was not disclosed to you, which was not communicated to you. After issuing report, auditor may become aware of information that existed on 31st March but was not communicated to you. If facts have been affected report, they are affecting the report which you have given. The auditor should determine if information is reliable. The auditor will see that the information which is available in July, that is actually correct. And the auditor should determine if the users are still likely to be relying on report. That is, because of that information, the report which you have given, those persons, shareholders, legal authorities are relying on the report, they should not be relying. So auditors should try to prevent further reliance on report. How? Advise client to make appropriate disclosures wherever the report is given. Client may issue revised financial statement. Disclosure may be made in the immediate subsequent financial statements. In case the client is not doing that, he's saying, I will not communicate, I will not do that. The notify board of directors to need to make appropriate steps. May notify client that the reports should not be associated with financial statements. That is, he will notify the board of directors that my reports should not be read with the financial statement. May notify regulatory agencies, income tax, sales tax, that the reports should not be relied on. May notify each person known to relying on the report, he will be under problem, so the auditor will communicate. He will not directly communicate first. First he will request to the management. But if the management is not taking action, then he will communicate. That's the procedure is there in SOX. And omitted procedures. Auditor may determine that substantive procedures considered necessary was not performed. Other procedures may have compensated for omission. Maybe something is omitted. Now that is not checked by the auditor, but the auditor realized that even though that is omitted, but that is already covered by other things. Not a problem. Omitted procedures may impair ability to support opinion. But the auditor realized that if something is omitted, that is not supported by other evidences. So that is a problem. Opinion affected. Omit audit procedures should then be applied alternate procedures. The auditor should, you can say that alternative procedures may be substituted when the auditor found that something is omitted. And by checking other things, that omitted thing is not overcome. Then in that case, the auditor will be doing some further checking so that the omitted item can be correlated or can be incorporated in presenting true and fair view. If the auditor becomes aware of previously unknown facts, rules for subsequent discovery of facts are applied. some previously unknown facts he come to know. He need now understand that when the omission we are saying, omission is not a part of subsequent discovery. Subsequent discovery is a separate point. Omission is you are doing the audit, something was not communicated to you, or you find that it is omitted, but you find that it is already covered through the other areas. But if it is not covered, you will be going into substantive testing, detail checking. The audit documentation, you need to make your papers, working papers, demonstrate the auditor's adherence, assist the auditor in doing the audit. Working papers, permanent files relate to company and contain information. The permanent file includes debt agreement, pension contract, articles, flow charts, bond indenture, lease agreement. The current file includes reconciliation, BRS, then lead schedules, supporting schedules, documentation, attorney's letter, auditor programs. Working papers are the property of the auditor and should be maintained for a reasonable period. In case of, this is the last thing which they have written, in case of PCAOB, that is, you can see, when we are doing the audit which are listed in the stock exchange, then relating to those companies, audit documentation must include the preparation of an engagement completion document. That is not required in non-listed company. Those companies which are listed in SEC, for those companies, when you are doing the auditing, the audit documentation include engagement completion document. What is that? This document must include all significant findings or issues arising from engagement. This document must include all significant findings or issues arising from the engagement. All documents must include all significant findings or issues arising. I'm not saying that when you are not doing the audit for SEC certified company, you will not maintain the documents. You will, but you are not giving any engagement completion document. Here you are giving a separate engagement completion document which includes all significant findings or issues arising from the engagement. All documentation necessary to understanding these findings must either be included in the engagement completion document or else must be cross-referenced to the working papers that provide such documentation. I can say that in India, I don't have 100% knowledge, but these types of things are required when you are doing the audit, say tax audit. Tax audit, there is a tax report, but I am saying that suppose there is a scrutiny, there is something, and the income tax department has appointed a chartered accountant for doing the tax audit. Income tax department, then this type of report will be given by the chartered accountant engagement, which is say a big file. For all the things, there is a supporting, there is a detail, there is an observation given, so that the other person, anybody who is looking at, he don't have to go in the organization, he will be able to understand everything. So in US, for all the companies which are listed in SEC, this is required. In India also the rules are increasing. You can see that auditors are now writing each related party details in the audit report. Their relationship, their transactions, the value, the outstanding, then everything is written. Relating to any payment which the company has not done for more than 6 months, not only received payment, then the auditor need to report what is the party, why the payment is not done, what is the value, since long, how it is due. There are so many, you can say, rules and guidelines increased in India also. So earlier when the audit was done for a small company also, it could have been done very fast. But now that there are so many disclosures are increasing in India also, I am not a law person, but I have my relatives, my friends are there who are practicing as a chartered accountant. Regularly when we sit together, they discuss that Mata kharab ho gaya yaar. Okay, there are so many things we need to disclose. There are so many responsibility they have increased. We can say that we are also moving like US, rule based, not like principle based, which was earlier. But still, we are very, very behind as compared to US SOX guidelines. Because here to every listed company, these details need to be given, like an income tax audit report type, which is treated as engagement completion letter. Now this is what they have included. You can see 9 slides. You understand that as we discussed that in the third part, there are four topics. The first topic is covered in 9 slides, 9 word page. But then I have started explaining them. I'm not reading everything. Management is responsible for the preparation of financial statement. That gives a true and fair view. But which does not, but which does this really mean? For each item in the financial statement, management is making assertions. If it's a sales, it's a purchase, it's an asset, it's a liability, the management has made rules, documents, system that is called assertion. The auditor need evidence that the financial statements are valid. In representing the financial statements are in accordance with the applicable financial reporting framework. Management implicitly or explicitly makes assertions regarding the recognition, measurement, and presentation of classes of transactions. Consequently, auditors use these assertions when considering the potential types of misstatement that may occur when designing or performing the appropriate audit. The transaction includes sale, purchase, wages, everything. Accounting balances include all assets, liabilities, equity. Balances means balance sheet. Identifying assets and liabilities for risk of material misstatement through understanding the entity and its environment. Assertion about class of transaction, assertion about account balances and related disclosures. Assertion about class of transactions. Some examples. The class of transactions can be occurrence. The transaction and events have been recorded or disclosed, have occurred actually, and such transactions and events pertain to the entity. This means that the transaction recorded or disclosed actually happened, relate to the entity. For example, that a recorded sale represent goods which were ordered by the valid customer and were dispatched and invoiced in the period. An alternative way of putting this is that sales are genuine and are not overstated. The test: select a sample of entries from the sales account in the ledger and press to in the appropriate sales invoice and supporting goods dispatched notes and customer orders. You can see that how you will test that the sales figure in the PL account is correct. You want to test that. All the sales which are written, they actually happened. They actually occurred. You want to test the occurrence. So there must be an order. There must be a delivery. There must be a goods received note. There must be an invoice given to the party. There must be a money received. Or if the money is not received, there must be a confirmation that the money is still due. That is occurrence. Occurrence means with the documents you will check. Completeness, that the transactions are recorded in complete form. All transaction events that should have recorded have been recorded, and all recorded disclosures that should have been included in the notes to accounts are there. No omission, nothing is missed. Relevant test: select a number of sample customer orders and check to dispatch notes and sales invoices and posting to the sales account in the nominal ledger. Note that the difference in the direction of the above list test. In order to test completeness, the procedure should start from underlying documentation and check to entries in the relevant ledger. To ensure none has been missed, to test for occurrence, the procedure will go other way around. That is, start with the entry in the ledger and check back to the supporting document to ensure the transaction actual. You can say that if the sales in the PL account is $1 million, the sales ledger is there. In the sales ledger, what do you say? There are many parties to whom the sale is done. You go into receivable. In the receivable, there are 1,000 parties are there. You go into one particular party, say Mr. Neeraj. Neeraj ledger you are seeing that Neeraj has been sold goods in the year 100 times. And you found that Neeraj is a very big customer for the organization. So you go into a particular transaction with Neeraj. You ask the organization, show me the bills relating to this, records relating to this. That whether there is a sales order, whether there is an invoice, everything is there or not. This is one way. Another way, you start with an order from a customer. You see that whether the order is delivered to the customer or not, whether the invoice is given to the customer or not, whether the price was appropriate or not, whether credit analysis was done or not. These all things, there is a system in the company which is called assertion. But you are doing a testing on sample basis that whether actually the assertions are proper, whether the control is proper, whether it is followed, whether the figures given in the financial statement are correct. Then only you will come to a conclusion that The company's financial statements provide true and fair view. So like this, I've given some 7, 8, 10 examples. Those examples relating to substantive procedures, I was writing that, but then we started the class. So I will be sharing this detail with you. There is a slight working more required, around 4 or 5 pages more. So this is, you can see that presently already 13 pages. I will make this maximum 20 pages. Maximum 20 pages. So you can see that if in the part 3 there are 4 areas, then 20, 20, 20, maximum 80 pages. In total there are 4 broad areas. So we can see that some of the areas will not be 20 pages, some of the areas will be 7, 8. In average, I think that it will be 10 pages for 20 topics, if I will say. So around 150 to 200 pages notes will be there, which will help you to incorporate everything which you will do in the questions. सब कुछ समझ में आएगा, everything, there will not be any problem. No other material, nothing to be referred. Just we will be referring this only for the entire auditing subjects. First of all, I am completing those things which are left. Then I will complete those things which we have already done, so that you will be able to refer that with the questions. It will be helping you. Getting? Now we want to do some questions, at least 10 questions. So this was a question relating to the area audit evidence. Sometimes it happens that maybe in the evidence chapter there are certain things. Some questions, not many, out of 226, maybe 10, 15 questions are related with the area which we have not studied. It happens in every. It's not only any particular question bank provider, it happens with many. Maybe it is related with that area, for that reason it is covered, not a problem. Which of the following eliminates voluminous details from the auditor's working trial balance? Auditor's working trial balance by classifying and summarizing similar or related items. Which of the following eliminates voluminous details from the auditor's working trial balance by classifying and summarizing similar or related items? According to me, control accounts. Reason being that in the balance sheet we record, I am not 100% sure, 99.99%. Why I am saying? In the balance sheet we record receivables. But in a company there are 1,000 receivables. In balance sheet we are not recording 1,000 names. In the company there are 50,000 employees working. But in the PL account we are getting only wages and salaries. If there is not paid, then we are getting outstanding. The control accounts are there in the trial balance, which will say the broad headings. Obviously, when you go into detail of control accounts, then it will be giving you individual employees, individual customers, individual details. But the control accounts will help the auditor to eliminate voluminous details. Obviously, with the control account, he need to go into further details. But then he will be able to analyze with the control accounts. Voluminous detail he can reduce. That is my thinking. Maybe it's account analysis also, but I'm thinking control accounts. Which of the following eliminates various details from auditor's working trial balance by classifying and summarizing similar or related items? Because when we prepare PL account balance sheet, the similar items are coming under one heading: property, plant, equipment, receivables, inventory, cash and bank. So when we classify the items into similar nature, then it will reduce the voluminous transaction into manageable level, so that we can analyze. Account analysis may be possible, but account analysis will be more detailed. Supporting schedule, more detailed. Lead schedules may also be there, but according to me, control accounts. Lead schedules means what? All schedules are generally very detailed, and the question is asking elimination of voluminous details. So supporting schedules, lead schedules, and accounts payable, according to me, they will not reduce, they will increase. But eliminates voluminous transaction details will be by the help of control accounts. Let's see, I don't know. But this is also wrong. But it is not taking don't know. 1 second. Lead schedule is the answer. The answer is correct because lead schedules serve to accumulative similar or related information before it is transferred to working trial balance. Lead schedule serves to accumulate similar or related transactions before it is transferred to working trial balance. One second. The answer is incorrect because control accounts eliminate details from client's ledger, client's general ledger. This answer is incorrect because control accounts eliminates details from the client's general ledger. I was thinking that only. Okay, whenever we prepare in tally, suppose accounts, and if I am taking in tally the trial balance based on control accounts, then it will be giving me just the broad headings of assets, liability, income, expenses. So client's general ledger. But what is the question? Following eliminates various details from the auditor's working trial balance. So it's the client's trial balance which will reduce the voluminous transactions. The auditor's working trial balance by classifying and summarizing. So you can see that auditor will be preparing a trial balance for its own purpose, which will be based on lead schedules, and the lead schedules will help him to incorporate the things into one area. The answer is correct because lead schedules serve to accumulate similar or related information before it is transferred to working trial balance. Okay. One second. I want to read this also, whether they have written anything relating to this. The answer is incorrect because account analysis. So the detailed changes in accounts during the year, which normally would not appear on working. Obviously, this is detailed. And then supportings. The answer is incorrect. Supporting schedules are normally included in account analysis. So account analysis and supporting schedules are same. Control accounts is reducing the volume, but that is reducing the volume for the client, not for the auditor. For the auditor, if you want to reduce the volume, he need to prepare a working trial balance. That working trial balance is prepared on the basis of lead schedules. That is, all the related informations will be coming together, and then the auditor will be picking them in the trial balance, putting them in the trial balance. So that will help the auditor to reduce the volumes. So do we take a copy of this? Yes. Because it was very technical. Not that wrong or right. Sorry. I am writing the meaning of the four things also. Now proceeding to the next one. Alex company auditor concludes that the omission of an audit procedure considered necessary at the time of the prior audit impairs the auditor's present ability. Alex company's auditor concludes that the omission of an audit procedure considered necessary at the time of the prior audit impairs the auditor's present ability to support the previously expressed unmodified opinion. If the auditor believes there are stockholders currently relying on opinion, the auditor should promptly. If the auditor believes there are stockholders currently relying on the opinion, the auditor should promptly. That means there is a further evidence available. After you given the report, there are further information available, and that auditor believes that the stockholders currently relying on the opinion which is not correct. So the auditor should promptly notify the stockholders currently relying on the previously expressed unmodified opinion. That is, he will do later. First of all, he will say to management, you communicate with them. Advise management to disclose this development in its next interim report to the stockholders. Advise management to revise the financial statement with full disclosures of auditor's responsibility to support the unmodified opinion. Undertake to apply the omitted procedures or alternate procedures that would provide a satisfactory basis for the opinion. Undertake to apply the omitted procedures or alternate procedures that would provide a satisfactory basis for the opinion. Whether he has given the report, audit procedures considered necessary at the time of the prior audit impairs the auditor's present ability to support the previously expressed unmodified opinion. Undertake to apply the omitted procedures or alternate procedures that would provide a satisfactory basis for the opinion. We have read this just now, but with the language I am not able to confirm. This was the case. Subsequent events. After the balance sheet date, before issuance of financial statements. That was the case. Now, subsequent discovery of facts after issuing report may become aware of information. If facts would have reported, auditors would determine if information is reliable. Auditors would determine if users are still likely to be relying on the report. Auditors would determine if information is reliable. Auditors would determine if users are still likely to relying on the report. Notify the stakeholders, advise management to revise the undertake to apply the omitted procedures or alternate procedures that would provide. But it is written that auditors should try to prevent further reliance on report. How? Advise client to make appropriate disclosures to parties known to relying. I think this should be the case only, na? Advise management to revise to disclose this development in the next interim. But the orders are advise client to make appropriate disclosure to parties. Client may issue revised statement. Disclosures may be made in imminent subsequent financial information. But that is third. Advise client to make appropriate disclosure to parties to be relying on the report. Which one we select? Advise management to disclose this development in next interim report. Advise management to revise the full disclosure of auditors' inability to support the unmodified opinion. Yes, because this one is becoming next. Let's see, but wrong. This is also wrong. This is also wrong. The last one is correct. Undertake to apply the procedures or alternate. Actually, here, when we discuss this, then it is written that auditor may determine that a substantive procedures considered necessary was not performed during the audit. Other procedures may have compensated for omission, or omitted procedures may impair ability to support opinion. If opinion affected, omitted procedures should then be applied. Then alternate procedures may be submitted. That is, before going into that, he need to judge the adequacy of that information. When he analyzed that the information was not provided to him, it is correct and it is affecting, then he first of all requests the management. And when the management, you can say, is not behaving properly, then in that case he will inform directly. The answer is correct because the professional standard require that the auditor promptly undertake to apply the omitted procedures or alternate procedures that would provide a satisfactory basis for audit program, audit opinion. No, they are saying that you have not been given certain information which you should have been given while giving your report. So that information was unattended. You didn't know. Now later on that information you come to know. Because of that information, what you will do? First of all, you will check that whether that information is correct or not, whether that information is ultimately affecting your views or not. If it is not affecting, let that it be. But if it is affecting, then you will request to management, and then if the management is not accepting, then you will take action. So they are saying that the first thing you will do is you will be analyzing the situation personally, first of all. The answer is incorrect because there may or may not be need for revised financial statement. However, the necessary information for this judgment is not available at this point. That means they are saying that in the question, they are saying that something was hidden from you. There is extra information came after you have given the report. But that information, whether it will be affecting your report or not, first of all, you need to analyze that. Whether that information is correct or not, first of all, you need to analyze that. Once you found that that information is correct, that is affecting your report, that will be affecting the users, then you will request the management. They will disclose, they will communicate with the stakeholders. But if the management is not behaving properly on your request, then you will take action directly. That is the process. So we can say that मेरे ख्याल से यहाँ पर इसको थोड़ा ऐसे लिख देते, omitted procedures after the audit report is given. You have given the report, but there are certain things which back end in the sense. अच्छा ठीक है. Yes. Mane, they want to say that this is related with audit report only you have given, but we found that key audit report does not include something which is informed to us later. So first of all, you need to check that actually that is correct information, because maybe sometime we are getting information through via, and the via information are not actually substance that is correct. So why you will take your brain? If that is correct, then actually it is affecting your report. Your report is wrong. It is not giving true and fair view. It is material. Then in that case, you will connect with the management. And then if the management is not behaving, then you will go connect directly with the person to whom it is reported it is affecting. That way they are saying. ठीक है, चलेगा, इसको कॉपी नहीं कर रहे हैं बिकॉज ये समझ में आ गया. The current file of an auditor's working paper most likely would include a copy of bank reconciliation statement, pension plan, articles of incorporation, flowcharts. The last three are 100% permanent files. Current file is only bank reconciliation, because that is bank for every year the bank reconciliation will be different. This was simple, not a problem. What type of evidence would provide the highest level of assurance in an attestation engagement? Evidence secured solely from within the entity, evidence obtained from independent sources, evidence obtained indirectly, not third तो नहीं है, Evidence obtained from multiple internal inquiries, no. First two, which one is better? Evidence secured solely from within the entity. Evidence obtained from independent sectors, independent third party. I am also liking that. But second, first one is second. उसके बाद अगर आपको है तो आप एंटिटी से जो इंफॉर्मेशन डायरेक्टली गैदर किए वो भी चलेगा. ये सब ठीक नहीं है. The answer is correct because attestation standards indicate evidence from independent sources from attested direct personal knowledge and obtained under effective control provide the more valid evidences. An auditor should consider which of the following when evaluating the ability of a company to continue as a going concern. An auditor should consider which of the following when evaluating the ability of a company to continue as a going concern. An auditor should consider which of the following when evaluating the ability of a company. Going concern hai ki nahi? Audit files? No. Future assurance services? I think yes, maybe. Management plans for disposal of assets? Yes. Lawsuits for which judgment is not anticipated for 18 months? I think second or third, but I am liking third. Because if the company is going to dispose of most of the assets, then they are not going to continue. Or maybe I will say that future assurance services, the assurance is given that this will not be done 2 or 3, but not 100% sure which one. If the going concern is no longer valid, there is no non-current current assets. Everything is current asset. Everything is realizable value. That is very important. Going concern is fundamental principles on which financial statements are prepared. So if the going concern is not valid, that need to be reported. Actually, assurance से पता नहीं चल रहा what is assurance, what assurance they are talking. But asset से पता चल रहा सब asset is dispose कर देंगे तो in that case क्या करेंगे business? Correct. Let's see, but फिर भी इसको read करेंगे एक बार. This is correct because auditors consider management plans to dispose of the asset, borrow money or restructuring debt, reduce delay expenditures and increase ownership. I think इसको ले लेते हैं. Because they have given one point, in another question they may give another point. Reasons for going concern may no longer valid. So that they are saying this. इसको हटा देते हैं क्योंकि in this point they are saying that कि ये story है, but they have written all the points. Disposal of assets also, borrow money, restructuring debt, reduce or delay expenditures, increase ownership equity. These are the 4 situations where we can say that the going concern may longer be valid. Lekin I am interested in knowing this also. Is they have written? This is incorrect because future assurance services are not the emphasis when the auditor is considering a client's going concern status, but nothing is written. You can say that assurances are not related, not mentioned with what? If something is mentioned relating to assurance, then it's other thing. For that reason. Because of the pervasive effects of laws and regulations on the financial statement of governmental units, an auditor should obtain written management representation acknowledging that management has identified and disclosed all laws and litigations that have a direct and material effect on its financial statement. Implement internal current policies and procedures designed to detect. Expressed both positive and negative assurance to the auditor that the entity coupled with all laws and regulations. Employed internal auditors who can report. I will show first one. Identified and disclosed all laws and regulations that have a direct and material effect on its financial statement. Even though others are not wrong, internal control policies should be there, expressed both positive and negative assurance. This also can be the answer to the auditor that the entity complied with all laws and regulation, employed internal auditors. The second and fourth I don't select, but first and third, because you will be getting representation letter from management. Must obtain representation letter. Information and data are available for the auditor during the examination. Responsibility for preparation, error, fraud, litigation that are known at year end have been communicated. Events that may affect carrying values communicated. Plans of company that may affect carrying values communicated. Oral information communicated. Non-compliance with laws and regulations that are known at year end has been communicated. Disclosures of major transactions, events or circumstances affecting the client at year end has been communicated. Non-compliance with laws and regulations that are known at year end have been communicated. It is related with that. Effect of laws and regulations on the finance. Any auditor should obtain written management representation acknowledging the management identified and disclose all that have a direct and material effect on its financial statement. Expressed both positive and negative assurance to the auditor that the entity complied with all laws and regulations. Which one, first or third?
फर्स्ट से लग रहा है.
पता नहीं यार कैसे लिखते हैं. Okay. The answer is correct. In addition to normal representation, auditor should consider obtain additional representation from management acknowledgement that management is responsible for entities compliance with laws and regulations, and management has identified and disclosed to the auditor all laws and regulations that have a direct and material effect. तो फिर आंसर इन्होंने ये क्यों बोला है? फिर तो थर्ड नंबर भी चलेगा. और इंटरनल कंट्रोल पॉलिसीज. Management is responsible for compliance. Management has identified and disclosed to the auditor all laws and regulations that have a direct and material impact. The second part they have given, but the first part management is responsible. Okay. इसको भी ले लेते हैं ऐसे. अदर ऑप्शंस की जरूरत नहीं है. Which of the following auditing procedures most likely would assist an auditor in identifying related party transactions? Inspecting correspondence with lawyers for evidence? No. Vouching accounting records for recurring transactions recorded just after the balance sheet? No. Reviewing confirmation of loans receivable and payable? Yes. Performing analytical procedures for individual indications of possible financial difficulties? Third number 100%. क्योंकि रिलेटिव के साथ लोन लेना देना ही होता है दुनिया में जनरली. The requirement is to identify the auditing procedures that would most likely assist an auditor in identifying related party transactions is correct because reviewing confirmation of loans receivable and payable for indication of guarantees may reveal unusual transactions that involve related party. Under 550 for procedures related to identifying transactions with related parties, answer is correct because inspecting the correspondence with lawyers for evidence of unreported contingent liabilities does not generally relate directly to related party transactions. वो ऐसी एक्सप्लेनेशन दे रहे हैं, नॉर्मल है ये. In confirming a client's accounts receivable in prior years, An auditor discovered many differences between recorded account balances and confirmation replies. These differences were resolved and were not misstated. In confirming a client's accounts receivable in prior years, an auditor discovered many differences between recorded account balances and confirmation replies. These differences were resolved and were not misstatements. In defining the sampling unit for the current year audit, the auditor most likely would choose customers with credit balances, small account balances, individual overdue balances, individual invoices. I think individual overdue balances, because customers with credit balances will be very lengthy. Small account देखकर क्या करेगा वो, और individual invoices will also be everything, तब तो सारा. So according to me individual overdue balances, because पिछली बार जब हुआ था तो मिस स्टेटमेंट नहीं था, सब ठीक हो गया, लेकिन मेनली इंडिविजुअल ओवरड्यू बैलेंसेस को अगर देख लेंगे तो ठीक रहेगा. इफ वी आर द ऑडिटर, आई थिंक रॉन्ग. देन फर्स्ट वन, नो. सारा इनवॉइस देखेंगे? वाह, क्यों देखेंगे सारा इनवॉइस यार? This is correct because sampling individual invoices may make it sampling. Actually the question was, जो हम लोग सेलेक्ट कर रहे थे इंडिविजुअल ओवरड्यू बैलेंसेस, वो सही था, लेकिन क्वेश्चन यहां पर है कि जब in the previous audit when the balances were not tallying with the confirmation from the customers, then all the differences were tallied. कुछ मिस स्टेटमेंट नहीं था. इसका मतलब हुआ क्या कि कुछ बिल्स वगैरह का लिखने में हम लोग गलती करते हैं. दैट्स द प्रॉब्लम. इट्स नॉट दैट वी आर रॉन्ग और वी आर, आई मीन टू से, डूइंग फ्रॉड. We are overestimating our sales. Nothing like that. Just that we are not good in our accounting records. So maybe with the sample invoices that can be checked better. This is correct because sampling individual invoices may make it easier for customer to reply accurately which liabilities are recorded by individual purchases. मतलब ये आंसर थर्ड नंबर रॉन्ग जो हम लोग सेलेक्ट किए थे इंडिविजुअल, वो रॉन्ग नहीं था, बट इस क्वेश्चन के लिए वो रॉन्ग है. Because when earlier the problems were there, those were fully resolved. It's not that somebody has, माने हम लोग नहीं माने, कस्टमर नहीं माना, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. इसका मतलब रिकॉर्डिंग में हम लोगों के इंटरनल कंट्रोल में प्रॉब्लम है. So if we check individual invoices slightly on sample basis, that would be better. Then in that case the problems will automatically be resolved. उसके बाद में लास्ट में एक बार इंडिविजुअल ओवरड्यू बैलेंसेस तो चेक करना होगा, बट फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल वी नीड टू डू दैट. गेटिंग? One more last time doing today for, during the confirmation of accounts receivable, an auditor receives a confirmation via the client's fax machine. Which of the following actions would an auditor take? Not accept the confirmation, select another customer balance to confirm. Not accept the confirmation, treat it as an exception. Accept the confirmation and file in the working papers. Accept the confirmation but verify the source and content through a telephone call to the respondent. थर्ड और फोर्थ, लेकिन मेरे को फोर्थ. लेकिन अगर टेलेक्स मैसेज भेजेंगे तो क्या वो गलती हो सकता है क्या? नहीं, वो तो नंबर से ही आता है, क्योंकि लिखा हुआ है ना क्लाइंट्स फैक्स मशीन. तो अभी फोन का कैसे पता लगाएंगे? अब ये थोड़ी ना मांगेंगे कि आपका फैक्स नंबर या आपके नाम में इसका बिल दीजिए. ऐसा होता है क्या? लगता तो नहीं है. हाँ, और क्या, उसका बिल पे लिखा रहता है, बट रॉन्ग है. फोर्थ ही सही है, लगता है फोर्थ ही सही है. यू कैन से दैट व्हाई फोर्थ इज करेक्ट. मान लीजिए आप ऑडिट के लिए गए एंड यू गॉट अ फैक्स मैसेज, लेकिन आप ये चेक करेंगे ना कि ये जो फैक्स मैसेज आया है ये क्लाइंट का नंबर है थ्रू क्लाइंट इनवॉइस. क्लाइंट जो बिल, क्लाइंट जो पेमेंट वगैरह करता होगा तो वो तो फैक्स नंबर लिख के रखते हैं ना अपने इनवॉइस पे. तो वो फैक्स नंबर चेक करेंगे कि ये उसी का, उससे कोई डॉक्यूमेंट नहीं मांगेंगे, लेकिन अपने चेक करेंगे. इसलिए बोल रहे हैं ये लोग. The answer is correct because while the confirmation may be accepted, the auditor should verify the source and content in some manner, perhaps via telephone call, or maybe not by call, There may be some document received from client where their fax number are written and you received the message from that fax number only. कुछ तो करना होगा ना, इसलिए प्रूफ है, ओरिजिनल डॉक्यूमेंट है, लेकिन आपको केवल ये चेक करना होगा कि ये फैक्स नंबर क्लाइंट का ही है, उसी क्लाइंट का है। दिया होगा वही, देखते। The answer is correct because incorrect because audit procedure should be performed to the confirmation. It should not simply be accepted and filed. मतलब आपको हाई लेवल कंफर्मेशन में जाना है कि ये नहीं कि मिल गया, माने वो बोलते हैं ना स्केप्टिमिज्म. You always need to be skepticism always when you are doing the audit. तो इसमें आप स्केप्टिमिज्म मेंटेन नहीं कर रहे हो. फैक्स आया, आप मान लिए, बाद में पता चला वो फैक्स नंबर उस क्लाइंट का था ही नहीं, तो वो आपको कंफर्म करना पड़ेगा. Okay, not an issue. If you get time, try some questions. Otherwise, if you will not get time, then we will be doing some more questions, some 20-30 questions in the next class, so that we get a better feeling, and then we will proceed further.
Sure, sir. आप सर ये वाला जो राइट आपने बनाया है,
हाँ,
शेयर कर दीजिए, तो रीड आउट कर लूंगा, तो मेरे दिमाग में थोड़ा
जरूर, वो तो मैं दूंगा ही, लेकिन ये जो है मैं थोड़ी देर अभी और बनाऊंगा, आधी घंटे बाद, तो मैं आपको 2-3 घंटे बाद दूंगा, जिससे कि मेरे को और नहीं डालना पड़े इसमें. अनलेस एंड अनटिल क्वेश्चंस जो है वो अलग बात है, लेकिन राइटअप और कुछ नहीं लिखना पड़े, इसलिए मैं थोड़ा सा मेरा लिखना बाकी है, तो मेरे को 1-2 घंटा दीजिए, मैं देता हूं, ठीक है ना?
ठीक है.
या
ये वाला जो अभी बनाया, ये वाला
सेक्शन 3 का एविडेंसेस फर्स्ट. सेक्शन 3 के अंदर 4 चैप्टर्स आर देयर. दिस इज सेक्शन 3 फर्स्ट चैप्टर.
तो अपने जो 2 सेक्शन कंप्लीट हुए हैं वो आप ऑटोमेटिकली डिलीट कर देंगे, जो नया बना रहे हैं उसका अलग से बना देंगे मतलब?
हाँ, उससे अलग से बना के देंगे. पहले अपने ये तीसरा और चौथा का बना लेते, ज्यादा दिन नहीं लगेगा. उसके बाद पहला, फर्स्ट एंड सेकंड आई विल शेयर विथ यू, व्हिच वी हैव डन.
तो थर्ड और फोर्थ में दोनों में 4-4 सेक्शन है क्या आपके?
फोर्थ में मैंने देखा नहीं है, बट फोर्थ में और कम है. फोर्थ तो सब जगह छोटा होता है. सर्थ में, फोर्थ में 4 सेक्शन है, थर्ड में. या
ओके, तो अभी अपना ये फर्स्ट सेक्शन से कंप्लीट हो गया जैसे वो
माने डिस्कशन हो गया, लेकिन क्वेश्चंस तो करेंगे ना, बगैर क्वेश्चन तो कुछ नहीं हुआ. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल क्वेश्चंस, तभी तो फीलिंग आता है कि अपने जो समझे हैं वो ध्यान में आ रहा है कि नहीं, कहां लूप होल्स है. तो आपने ये, वी आर नॉट सेइंग दैट वेदर वी आर राइट और रॉन्ग, दैट्स नॉट आवर ऑब्जेक्टिव. व्हेन वी आर डूइंग क्वेश्चन, स्टिल वी आर स्टडिंग. अभी भी स्टडी चल रहा है, चैप्टर चल रहा है, ठीक है? या ओके, मिलते हैं थर्सडे को, हैं? या हाँ, थैंक यू, टाटा, बाय.